of you on the panel, and I apologize for folks coming in and out, but a number of other committee meetings and markups are taking place. But I did have the pleasure of reading your testimonies and looking over them, and I did want to ask you something, Dr. Beach. Your written testimony makes it clear that overregulation is hurting American businesses and workers. In fact, you made a statement, regulations function as a hidden tax, siphoning resources away from productive use. Businesses must redirect capital toward compliance instead of expanding current operations and researching new technological breakthroughs. During the first Trump administration, the president's focus on deregulation efforts benefited workers. Why was this effort so beneficial, in your opinion?
I think it stimulated investment, and investment caused a greater pool. Investment dollars are out there in the banking system. They're out there in private companies to invest in expansion of their companies and also to start new companies. We see, the real key here is whether or not the free enterprise system is creating new businesses. That's the metric you should look at, not big businesses, but the small ones. From the sub-chapter S corporations to the proprietor. And I think that's one of the major things that happen. And of course, when that happens, when workers have new equipment, new businesses to work, they're more productive. And when productivity rises, then their wages rise. And we saw almost an immediate effect. But you don't have to go back to the Trump administration to see that. You can see that in the Clinton administration. You can see that in the Carter administration. In fact, every time we've had a significant deregulatory wave, we have seen a boost in economic output, a boost in inflation, a decrease in prices. And there's no reason why we shouldn't see that. Now, of course, you got to make sure the regulations that you reduce are not going to put people in safety issues, right? And you have to be smart about it. But there are just billions of regulations out there that don't qualify in that category. So that's the effect we would expect.
Well, and I think that's an excellent point. And I guess I would ask as a follow-up to that, when you think about what took place during that first term, and then you referenced previous administrations, how would you say the president, how can he improve the economic conditions and support workers and businesses during the second term now that he's underway?
Well, I think he has a more aggressive program. That's the first thing. So you have to combine not raising taxes. That's the first thing. You can't do that. You have to, regardless of what you think about this act, that has to be made permanent. The 199A is a big provision for small businesses. Do that, and then he has a 10-to-1 reduction plan. That would be way more than what he had done in the first administration. And we're expecting some big effects. My research shows that we get big output and big gains in investment and big gains in hours worked. There'll be plenty of overtime. Let me tell you, we talked about overtime before. There'll be plenty of overtime once this program's in full swing.
Gotcha.
And if I could just say one more thing about the federal workforce, we don't really have to speculate a lot about what will happen to the federal workforce. This isn't the first time that this has happened. I'm old enough to remember, and perhaps you are as well, the Reinventing Government program of the Clinton-Gore administration. That was the first time that people got letters and some emails saying, would you like to resign? That was the first time. And there was massive decreases in the federal workforce. And what happened after that was a period of, I think every Democrat would say, of unprecedented growth, and we even balanced the budget by the end of that term. So I don't know whether that's going to happen this time. No one knows, but there is a record out there that we can look at.
Well, in the final minute we have left, I believe rather than promote the proven policies that you've talked about that unleash the economy, like lower taxes and deregulation, things that help businesses and increase wages for workers, my colleagues oftentimes on the other side would rather increase individuals' dependence on the state through ever-expanding welfare. I will ask you just in the closing few moments we have, outside of the massive federal expansion of unemployment insurance for over a year and a half during COVID, could you just quickly discuss what federal programs or policies incentivize unemployment?
Incentivize unemployment, that's a great concept. Well, I think if you have extended unemployment benefits, the evidence shows that people do stay out of work until like the last week. So that extends it. We've talked here about putting in place excessive benefits that, particularly in the housing area, that might cause people to think, do I work that extra hour and lose my means-tested housing benefit? Those are well-intentioned programs. We just have to be really careful that we don't get unintended consequences.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.